Be smart, be calm, and hate what is happening to your country. And if you are also unhappy, angry, or have hateful feelings towards fascism, then share them. If you voted correctly, but you're still feeling powerless, share your dislike for the actions Trump is taking. All politics are based on feelings. Share them, and you'll be doing your part. AOC asked a bunch of her people, her voters, who voted for her and Trump at the same time, which sounds like a wild idea. I can't wrap my head around that one. I vote for Donald Trump during the presidency, and then for my House representative, I vote AOC. Why would anybody do such a thing? Sounds insane to me. But here's what they said. This is the important bit down here. Well, it's not the most sophisticated method of surveying voters. The responses were swift and candid. Here's what the voting people said. I feel you are both outsiders compared to the rest of DC and less establishment. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not entirely sure what that means. Establishment is whatever you feel like it means. And if you feel like somebody's an establishment person, they are. And if you feel like they're not, even though they've been in politics for a very long time, then they're not. Bowling fan, am I mad that Trump won? Yeah, I would rather him have lost. He should have lost. He is the bad guy. I do rather dislike it when the bad guys win. That makes me unhappy. So yeah, and I'll go as far as to say as I hate it. I will be talking about hate later in the stream. I've got a whole rant typed up. I've got thoughts and notes and stuff to put together. So stick around. It'll be a good time, I think. So what else did her voter say? Wanted change, so I went with Trump and blue for the rest of the ballot to put some brakes. This doesn't make any sense either. Whoever wrote this does not know how the government works. They voted for Trump for president, then AOC for the House. But the Dems lost the House and they lost the Senate, so there will be no brakes. Why would you vote for Trump but then put on some brakes? Doesn't make any sense. Both of you push boundaries and force growth. Push boundaries. Okay, I would accept that Donald Trump pushes boundaries, but not in a good way. He pushes them in the negative way. He pushes against things that are intelligent or smart. He fights against reality. And then force growth. Well, growth. No, Donald Trump doesn't force growth, even in the economy. He creates scams. So whoever wrote that is a maniac, doesn't know anything about anything. It's real simple. Trump and you care for the working class. Now, this one almost makes sense because Donald Trump does push fake populism. He pretends to care for the working class. He doesn't, not actually. He won't actually do any good with that for the people or the working class. He will simply cut taxes for the rich, pretend to cut taxes for the poor, and no tax on tips is what he pushed. But the majority of people who earn tips don't pay income taxes already. So they're not going to be getting anything out of it. And the loopholes that he will leave in place for that policy will be abused by the rich and the powerful, the people who own accountants. And they will reorganize some of their income and call it tips so that they can dodge taxes, another tax cheat, another tax loophole for the rich. You get nothing. So he makes them feel like he cares for the working class. The next person said, I feel like Trump and you are both real. I think AOC is real. She is saying things that she believes and thinks to be true. But Donald Trump is the most unreal person in existence. Like, none of the things he says are true or real or he even believes are happening. Half the time, when you really drill down on one of those Trump voters, they say that he's joking half the time, and none of the things he says makes any sense. And he's not going to do the things that he says he's going to do. Thomas said that to me a couple of times as well. I bring him on here and I'm like, how is this going to work? And he's like, he's just talking shit. He's not actually going to do that. So he's the most unreal. Donald Trump is on stage telling you things that he's not going to do, even though he says he's going to do it. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And then apparently that's some sort of secret code that I'm supposed to be able to comprehend. He's not really going to do that. Next person says, you are focused on the real issues people care about, similar to Trump populism in some way. So this person knows what's going on as well. I think they are actually talking about the fake populism that Trump does. You signaled change. Trump signified change. I've said lately, Trump sounds more like you. That's an insane thing to say. AOC sounds nothing like Donald Trump. They are both pushing change. It's just that Donald Trump's change is in the wrong direction. He's running toward bad ideas, where AOC is slowly dragging us towards, painfully, good ideas. And that, I think, is the difference.
Hello human, it is me Kanuch. I need you to press the subscribe button. I have to feed my many AI babies.
Let's feel that burn.
I want to start with the scathing response that you gave after the Democrats lost, Kamala Harris lost pretty big. You said the Democrats abandoned the working class. The chairman of the DNC called it straight up BS and said Joe Biden is the most pro-worker president of my lifetime. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she disagreed with you.
Hey lady,
she
shut
added,
up, let
quote,
Bernie talk.
Bernie Sanders has not won. Do you stand by what you said?
Oh, absolutely. Look, Joe Biden is a friend of mine. I've been proud to work with him on an agenda which has been very strongly in favor of the working class. Biden promised to be the most progressive president since FDR in many ways on domestic issues. I think he kept his word. But here is the reality. The working class of this country is angry, and they have a reason to be angry. We are living in an economy today, Donna, where the people on top are doing phenomenally well, while 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. 25% of elderly people are trying to get by on $15,000 a year or less. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth, and parents all over this country worry that their kids may have a lower standard of living than they do. That is the economic reality. And what Donald Trump did is provided an explanation. He went around, he said, I know you're angry, and the reason is that zillions of illegal immigrants are coming over and they're eating your cats and dogs and everything else. That's the reason. Well, obviously, that is not the reason. The reason is, in my view, that we have an unprecedented level of corporate greed today, more income and wealth inequality, and people on top want it all. And we need an agenda that says to the working class, we're going to take on these powerful special interests and create an economy and a government that works for you. And by the way, that can't happen unless you get big money out of politics. We got to get rid of the Citizens United.
Bernie's right. He is correct that the people who voted for Donald Trump felt like Donald Trump was a better choice. All politics are based on feelings. Trump did not win because of policy. No. He won because he fed his fans, those Zoomers included, mostly feelings of spite and hatred. Kamala did not lose because of policy. She lost because she did not make her voting base feel anything. She bored them with bland consultant-approved talking points. Nobody likes that shit. She sounded like Hillary Clinton towards the end, and we didn't like her back then. She abandoned any of the interesting left-leaning changes she would have made to the government. When she's in the primaries, she talks about left-leaning ideas. She actually pushed for a UBI. Nobody remembers that. That was 4 or 5, maybe. It was 4 years ago, at least. 5, maybe. Where she actually pushed for like a negative income tax, but that would basically just be a UBI. She abandoned all that stuff. She abandoned the idea of banning fracking. She abandoned all those things for the consultant-approved talking points. She didn't offer any bold, exciting changes to the status quo. Stand completely still. I've said this 1,000 times. The Dems would just stand completely still, do the status quo, don't change anything, don't rock the boats. That's not exciting. The people don't feel good about that. And because of that, 10 million fewer people felt the need to vote this year. We got 10 million fewer this year than the last presidential election, and that's because she didn't make them feel anything. She seemed like more of the same. Now that all of the numbers are in, we can see that she got 3.3 million fewer votes than Trump. My mission over the next 4 years is to share with people feelings about Trump's administration. Mostly, those will be feelings of trepidation and a little bit of hatred. I can't do much about the tone. The policies he has promised will be mostly vengeful and discriminatory. I can't make those things seem bright or cheerful. Will my politics streams mostly be pointing at the awful things he does? Yes. Is that the same outrage cycle that Fox News has been using for 20 years? Yes, but I'll make mine more honest. And I'm not kidding about or being facetious about the hate. His voters are fueled by hate. They hate the woke, they hate the Dems, they hate the liberals, they hate the feminists, they hate the immigrants, they hate the government, they hate the L's, they hate the G's, they hate the B's, they hate the T's, they hate the Q's, they hate the I's, they hate the A's. The A's kind of deserve it, though. They know what they did. Love did not work for the Dems this time. They tried joy. They tried to be pleasant and happy and upbeat, and it failed. Taking the high road did not work. Michelle Obama told us a few years ago that when they go low, we go high. And I believed her at the time, but it didn't work. The Dems are all going to go around in circles. They went around in circles this past week, and they're going to go around in circles for the next few months, blaming each other, trying to figure out what happened, trying to figure out where they went wrong, the left blaming the center blaming the left. And I expect the center of the Dems to move to the right due to the ratchet effect, as usual. But don't listen to him. Bernie Sanders was right about the Dems abandoning the working class. Bernie got votes from the middle, and he got votes from workers, and he would have beaten Trump back in 2016. I think he would have. But he was bad for businesses' bottom lines. They would have had to pay taxes properly and been regulated, and they hate that. So they donated and backed Hillary, then pressured the higher-ups at the DNC to not support Bernie. That got us Hillary and a loss. But that was the past. What are we doing in the next 4 years? I would suggest be smart, be calm, and hate what is happening to your country. Hate the fascists, hate the neo-Nazis that Trump will appoint to government positions. And when given the chance, tell the people around you that you hate those fascists. Find centrists and convince them to hate the deportation actions. Find someone who stayed home on voting day and convince them to hate it when Elon steals billions of their tax dollars. Find a Dem-leaning individual and tell them they should hate the concentration camps that pop up. I will spend the next 4 years loudly and confidently pointing to the unconstitutionality of Trump's actions when he takes them. But he hasn't taken any yet. He does not assume the office until January 20th, so those actions are still hypothetical at the moment. But we can look at his most popular stance about mass deportation and easily hate it as it is. Thousands of actions are going to have to take place for it to even happen, and all of them are bad for people and easily criticized. The Republicans will pass the racist law. I hate that. Then those laws will be challenged in court. So then the Donald Trump will just replace the judges. Hate that. Then the Constitution will get in the way with its pesky 14th Amendment. So Trump will have to repeal that. Hate that. Taxpayer money will go towards building concentration camps. Hate that. When the people will start getting rounded up. And yeah, at the beginning, they'll get the scariest looking gang members. But those guys are harder to find. They don't have a 9-to-5. They don't have their references are not all up to date. They don't use regular phones. They have burner phones. They don't pay rent properly. They pay through somebody else or they just stay on somebody else's thing. They avoid being on the grid, on the record. You know what I mean? They're harder to find. But you know who's easy to find? Normal people who overstayed a visa, have a job, work a 9-to-5. They're going to be easy to find. And because they pay rent. So regular looking neighborhoods that look just like yours will have armed ICE agents kicking in doors. I'm going to hate that. And if we're lucky, the news and social media will show us some of these awful acts so that we can spread the hatred around, But maybe they will not be allowed to film it because the anchors of CNN have already been arrested and Elon completely controls what is and isn't seen on Twitter. That's a bad time, and I would hate it. Best case scenario, honestly. And I know I've talked a lot of hate, but maybe we can talk some best case scenario. Trump jumps the gun. Umberto Eco's third point of fascism is that action for action's sake is a thing that fascists like to do. Trump has promised that the deportation plans will begin day one, and in their frenzy to deport 30, 40, 50, 70, 80 million immigrants, they might slip up. ICE could arrest normal-looking people in normal-looking neighborhoods and get bad press. They could send too many people to a single holding facility, causing overcrowding and inhumane treatment, which would get bad press. In their haste, they could arrest people before the 14th Amendment has been repealed so that those children born in America are separated from their parents with no recourse, leading to bad press. And this might wake up some of the people in the middle. This might be jarring to the 80 million people who didn't vote this time, because that's the number. 80 million people could have voted and chose not to. Kamala's only under him by 3 million. She still wouldn't have won. She has to get 8 million more, or else you don't get to win the Electoral College, because it's a stupid system. But there were 80 million people who chose not to vote. Seeing those things might make them feel bad towards the Trump administration. And hopefully we can point to it and make them feel bad about it, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to point to those things and be like, look at what he's doing. Do you feel bad about that? Don't let him do it. That's if they see it at all, because the press is the next hurdle that Trump needs to deal with. What will happen when they try to record ICE kicking into suburban homes? What will Elon do when people upload videos of immigrant detainment facilities to Twitter? Will he do something about it? I bet he'll remove them. I'm damn sure he will. This is where things get wild and hard to predict, so I'm going to stop predicting here. We're a long way from this happening, but I will be here to watch it when it does happen. And if you are also unhappy, angry, or have hateful feelings towards fascism, then share them. If you voted correctly, but you're still feeling powerless, share your dislike for the actions Trump is taking. All politics are based on feelings. Share them, and you'll be doing your part.
I am the algorithm. Click on this video to make me happy. You wouldn't like me when I am angry.